Tonight, Connor Zilisch will make his NASCAR Cup Series debut at COTA. Can he join his Trackhouse Racing teammate Shane van Gisbergen in the history books and win his Cup debut? Kasey Kahne is making a return to NASCAR for the first time since 2018. Can Kahne be a contender to win after being away for several years? Johnny Herbert will no longer serve in his role at the FIA as a Formula One driver steward. What was the reason behind his departure? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert, and with me are Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports, Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance. Really happy to see you all here tonight, and we encourage everyone to interact with us in the chat, support us through Super Chat, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. Now here's Joshua with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Good evening to you. Good evening, Matthew. And let's get into the action. We're fresh off a 24-hour race, and we've got loads to bring you. Beginning with Trackhouse Racing is bringing back Red Bull, and it's back to NASCAR as a sponsor for the first time in over a decade. Now, Red Bull will reunite with Shane van Gisbergen and sponsor his number 88 Chevrolet in 5 races: the Las Vegas Spring Race, Sonoma, Iowa, the Daytona Summer Race, and the Kansas Fall Race. Now, SVG has been a Red Bull athlete since 2016 and previously drove for Red Bull Ampol Racing in the Repco Supercars Championship. Now, Red Bull will sponsor him in NASCAR. Team owner Justin Marks said Red Bull's return to NASCAR is a huge win for the sport because Trackhouse and Red Bull share a passion for racing, stories, and memorable experiences. Red Bull will also sponsor one of the most talented young drivers in motorsports, the Trackhouse development driver of Connor Zilisch. Now, on March 2nd, Zilisch will make his Cup Series debut at the Circuit of the Americas, driving the number 87 Red Bull Chevrolet. Now, last year, Zilisch won his Xfinity Series debut at Watkins Glen International and will compete full-time this year for JR Motorsports in the number 88 Chevrolet. Zilisch will also become a Red Bull athlete late last August. Now, on Monday night, during our NASCAR Roundtable show, our own Joe Sammiego made a bold prediction that Zilisch will join SVG by winning his Cup Series debut. Both photos here courtesy of Trackhouse Racing. Matt's alongside me as well, and it's a fascinating story to have Red Bull here because usually that's in the F1 segment, not in a NASCAR segment. So how do you feel about Trackhouse bringing Red Bull back to NASCAR, and do you agree with Joe on Connor Zilisch beating all of the Cup drivers at COTA?
Good evening, Josh. Hello, everyone. I apologise for my croakiness. The cold that is doing everyone in the UK at the moment got me, so I'm struggling on, but we'll get through the show as we always do. Yeah, good to have Red Bull back, first of all. I mean, it's another big name. Maybe that's what I need to get rid of all this, is a can of Red Bull, although it is 11:45 UK time, so it's probably not a good idea. Good to have them back in the sport. The cars look great. I have to say, the paint scheme is obviously moved on from the paint schemes of old on the old shape car with the newer model. I think it looks really cool. I've seen a mock-up of SVG's WeatherTech scheme, and they've got a little Red Bull sort of yellow shade band on the front bumper added to that scheme for the year, so that it'll have it up part of that too, as well as on the helmet, which he's been running forever. So that's really good to see them back. I think it's all another. Who knows how much Justin Marks and Trackhouse had to do with this, but more Trackhouse positivity stuff going on. Obviously, the big week at Daytona last week didn't get the result that they perhaps could have had towards the end of the Rolex 24 with the two guys that you mentioned, Zilisch and SVG, along with Scotty Mack and Ben Keating in that Corvette. So all that they did that promotional video, didn't they, in October, November, or whenever it was, with Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda with SVG and Zilisch. That was all sort of Red Bull branded stuff there as well. So if you trace back the timeline, kind of could see this probably coming if you reversed engineered it. But yeah, very good. I don't know if I agree with Joe's bold claim there about Zilisch winning at COTA in a few weeks' time. He dominated at Watkins Glen in his Xfinity debut last year to absolutely smoke the field. as regular viewers will know, I've been very high on this kid for a very long time. So I hope Joe is right.
I hope so too. And also, Adam says SVG and Red Bull. It's a homecoming here in the USA. By the way, bold prediction for 2025. Connor Zilisch will finish in the top 10 at COTA. Definitely, I think he'll be up there. He's going to be one to keep watching when we get to Circuit of the Americas. He's hoping it's a wet race as well. Any more comments coming through? I don't think we do. At this time, get your comments in and we'll answer them on the air. Also, interesting enough, about Red Bull now running with Trackhouse is that they could have, hello to Matthew Owens, hello everyone from Winston-Salem as well. We're getting ready for Bowman Gray this weekend. Trackhouse had a brilliant opportunity to keep Red Bull in MotoGP. Of course, Marc Marquez now no longer riding that bike. It used to be on the Repsol, and it was last year as well, just seen on the Gresini. Now it's not there. Trackhouse could have brought Red Bull with them there. They haven't done so, and it just proves how much MotoGP really are struggling at the moment for big-time sponsors as well, especially with Repsol leaving after last season. So, yeah, I'll expect them to do something to bring Red Bull into the MotoGP family as soon as possible to keep that in. Now, last weekend, Trackhouse Racing teamed up as well with Chevrolet and TF Sport to enter a Corvette in IMSA's GTD Pro class for the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Now, WeatherTech sponsored the number 91 Corvette in a driver lineup that featured gentleman driver Ben Keating, NASCAR's Shane van Gisbergen, IndyCar's Scott McLaughlin, and rising NASCAR star Connor Zilisch. Now, Trackhouse really trusted Zilisch throughout the weekend because they picked him to qualify the car, start the race, and finish the 24-hour Endurance Classic. Now, during his final stint, Zilisch had the number 91 Corvette in the battle for the GTD Pro class win and was fighting for a spot on the podium before he spun out and entering the infield section. He also received a drive-through penalty. The Trackhouse TF Sport Corvette ended up finishing 9th in class. And if you look at this data on the screen, it paints an interesting picture. Data from the B pillar show how quick the drivers were in the GT Pro in the Rolex 24. Now, looking at the Trackhouse drivers, Keating being towards the bottom isn't a surprise given that he's a gentleman driver in a category designed for gold and platinum rated factory drivers. However, surprise was SVG being in the bottom half of the fastest drivers in GTD Pro. McLaughlin was several spots higher on the list than Van Gisbergen, but Zilisch, on the other hand, was fifth fastest among all of the drivers in GTD Pro. To put this into perspective for how impressive his pace was in the race, this was his first time in a GT3 car, and he was faster than many of the biggest named factory drivers in GT racing. After reviewing the data, it's easy to see why Trackhouse, TF Sport, and Chevrolet had so much faith in Zilisch taking the lead during the most important parts of the race weekend. The graphic courtesy there of the B pillar. Wonderful graphic there, wonderful data still coming out of even just 3 days after the event. We've just about recovered, although I'm suffering with a migraine, so apologies if I'm not getting words out correctly enough. But Matt, what does it say about Zilisch's talent behind the wheel that he was quicker than many of the factory GT drivers who do this as their full-time day job?
Yeah, I mean, the second fastest Corvette driver outside of the factory car as well. Really impressive job. If Kobe could put the graphic back up again quickly. Thank you. So the coloured dots down the side, as Josh was saying, the yellow is the gold. The darker of the two greys is the platinum graded driver. Connor Zilisch, a silver. So his closest silver competitor was, looking down, Matteo Cressoni, next to James Hinchcliffe, about 3/4 of the way down. So he's smashed pretty much everybody there as a platinum and the golds. Nico Veroni has had a year in the Corvette in WEC last year, so he knows the car. So to be in the company of Andrea Caldarelli, Kelvin van der Linde, Dennis Olsen, Lauren Heinrich, last year's champion for AO, and of Jules Goudon, we all know how good Jules is, and he'll be out for attacking revenge again at the mountain this weekend at Bathurst for the 12-hour. Really, really impressive. Again, been talking about Connor for a very long time, and everything he seems to get in, he's gone super quickly, super fast, if that makes sense. Trans Am, MX5s, ARCA, we know his record in ARCA last year was stellar. I already mentioned before about that Watkins Glen race in Xfinity, and then the week after at Kansas, In his first Xfinity Oval race, he was running like top 10 pretty much all day, even though the car was mostly sideways. Yeah, he's the new phenom of the NASCAR sort of junior ladder. I don't think there's anybody on anyone's radar that's gone this well, this quick, again, this quickly, so quickly, coming through the ranks. So yeah, really, really impressive stuff. We knew he was good because, of course, last year he won this race in LMP2 with the Ryan DL, Dwight Merriman group. So, already got a Rolex on his wrist on his debut, jumped into a different class this year and is mixing it up with all of those factory guys at the top of the list there. Very, very impressive indeed from the young man.
Wonderful graphic as well. Just looking at all the averaging data as well.
You could spend hours looking at that.
You really could. It's the kind of thing that we would do before bed. Just reading those. We don't read any crime novels or autobiographies. No, we sit down and watch and read data, which is kind of true because many people know I tend to read the new FIA guidelines for Formula One and all the championships. I have just started the new sporting regulations. More on that later. I have started the new ones. Gotta know. You've got to know. It was on the one hand. Technical regulations, though, I think I might give a skip because nothing has changed. Denver says, I hear rumors of Kyle Larson's management are in talks with Supercars and SA Motorsport Commission Board to participate in the 2025 Adelaide 500 Grand Final and the Sprint Cars event. Is this true? Well, I've heard a couple of rumors going around, especially over the last week.
Yeah, I mean, last year through the year, there was all the talk of Kyle Busch going down to do the race, the Erebus, Richard Childress Racing hookup that they had going with, because we had Brady Kostecki come across and do the Indy race. When was that? 23, wasn't it? At the Indy Grand Prix. And then, of course, we had all the Kostecki Erebus stuff that we've talked about till the cows came home last year. That all went away. And then there was the Kyle Larson room, and he said, I'd love to go and give it a go. Then Adelaide added the sprint car thing in the week on the cricket field, which is in the middle of the Adelaide Parkland circuit. No room for cricket. They've got cars going around in circles. So it is absolutely made to measure for Kyle Larson to go and be a part of that event. And again, one of those kind of dream scenarios where we hope someone goes and does something like we saw with SVG a couple of years ago, and we've seen from other people, Scotty Mack going to do IndyCar, and it's worked. We want to see these high echelon platinum guys go and do something different and and succeed at it. So very, as Denver, you can probably tell from the poster behind the flag behind me on the wall, big thumbs up from me if this happens.
It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm keeping everything crossed, as you say, and 2021 champion in the background there. I can see now much bigger on my new Commentary Box monitor we've got now. It's quite disconcerting to see me there and you there, but massive. It's quite, Anyway.
I was talking to Toby before we went on, as it's the season of new TV graphics, might be something new coming behind me in the next few weeks.
Ooh. I mean, I've still got to get the Autosport thing up. It's about 9 foot. It's either going to go behind me to replace that, or it's going to go at the side to create like a curtain. So just like over there, where that is, so that would be blocked off. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll see the German flag down there actually, because that's because we've been filming some things ready for the new F1 season. We'll let you know about that later. So, for the first time since 2018, Kasey Kahne will return to NASCAR. Kahne will drive the number 33 Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing in the Xfinity Series. He'll compete in the race at Rockingham Speedway on April the 19th, the same track he won at in 2012 in the Truck Series. HendrickCars.com will sponsor Kahne's one-off NASCAR return at the 1.017 mile track known as The Rock. Now, Kahne said he's excited to get back behind the wheel of a stock car, especially at a place like Rockingham, graphic courtesy of Richard Childress Racing. Matt, how exciting is it to see Kasey Kahne return to NASCAR, and do you think he'll have a good chance to win the Xfinity race at The Rock?
Very exciting. Quite a surprise. Didn't see this one coming. But as soon as it dropped, I was like, oh, yes, very good. And of course, the Rockingham weekend is Easter weekend. in April. So we could have perhaps some more Cup guys that have decided that their one and only off week won't be an off week, and they'll come and try and get in an Xfinity ride somewhere and try their hand at a track that a lot of the guys now on the Cup Series schedule, I guess, have never been to. It's been off the schedule for such a long time. There was a big turnout yesterday for the I was just trying to remember if that was yesterday or Monday. All the days this week have melded into one. Big tyre test there yesterday for both series. So there was a big turnout of crowd. It was free entry. So good to see that the locals went down to see the track being used again. So that's really good. John says, happy for Kahne. He was testing yesterday and today, of course. Will continue today. So good to see. Yeah, good to bring back a former winner at the track to be a part of that weekend, and perhaps they can roll some more out over the next couple of weeks. And maybe, just mentioned Kyle Larson before, maybe he'll turn up and be a HenderHendrickCars.com Chevrolet down there for that race that weekend as well.
Must be nice to be able to go testing and not crash the car.
More
Evening,
on that later.
Lewis. Oh, we're going to get rid of that as well. So, the ABB FIA Formula E Championship is introducing a new feature called Pit Boost to add a different strategic element to the races. Now, you might be wondering, what is Pit Boost? Now, according to Formula E, it's an innovative mid-race feature that provides a 10% energy increase through a 30-second, 600-kilowatt rapid recharge in the pit lane. Now, the goal of Pit Boost is to make the teams and drivers weigh the benefits of having an in-race energy boost versus the risk of losing on-track position. Choosing the right moment to do the Pit Boost could make or break someone's race. Now, this will be a totally separate thing from attack mode. So strategists will have that and Pit Boost to consider during each race. No more than 2 pit crew members will be allowed to work on the car during a pit boost stop, plus 1 member to assist with stopping and releasing the car. A pit boost will only be allowed 1 car at a time per team and not simultaneously. Now, this new feature will only be available for select races, and it'll debut on February 14th and 15th at the Jeddah E-Prix doubleheader weekend in Saudi Arabia, the photo courtesy of Formula E. I've just remembered that that's going to be a Valentine's Day Friday, and it's going to be an evening race. Oh dear, what a shame. Yeah. So, could Pit Boost make the Formula E races more interesting, or was this new strategic element unnecessary?
They've been talking about doing this for, it seems like, ages. It was supposed to come in last year multiple times and didn't happen for whatever reason. And now, as you said, it's going to be selected races. Basically, from how I have heard it said, of the double headers, which is basically every race now to the end of the season, one of them is going to have the Pit Boost race. So you might have the Saturday where we'll have what we would term a normal race from what we've seen for the last little while, and then have the Pit Boost on the Sunday, or vice versa, whichever. Attack mode hasn't worked. We can say that pretty much categorically, that what it, I think, was put in for has not produced what they expected. It is a go through this joke lap and get it out of the way as quickly as we can in most scenarios thing, because we get to halfway through the race and pretty much 75 to 80% of the field has done both of their attack mode runs in most races. So this is going to be an interesting thing that we might see. Teams might stick with that, get those done, and then use the second half of the race to do this. It's going to be interesting how teams will float it around full safety cars, virtual safety cars, code 60, full course yellow, whatever you want to call it, throughout the races. Jeddah is going to be, I think, particularly tight in a couple of weeks. We know how close the walls are from the Grand Prix there. It's a shortened circuit for Formula E with a couple of added-in chicanes, because it's Formula E and that's what they do whenever they go somewhere that's a permanent racetrack. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how all the talkers finally come to a head and we're going to see it. What's it going to look like, though, is going to be interesting, and will it actually improve a strategic part of the race? We'll wait to see. I mean, Josh, you're going to be obviously calling these races live. You'll probably have more of an opinion on it than maybe I do.
We saw an example in preseason testing when they held the simulation race.
Yes.
And it was quite interesting to watch that happen because it did have an advantage if you started 9th and 10th. It had a more strategic advantage. If you're mid-pack, it works. Antonio Felix da Costa started that race in 9th, got through to lead the race, got a good gap, then came in to do his pit boost and came out in 3rd place and ended up having so much power that him and Verline ended up 1-2 at the end of the simulation race. And they properly went for it as well. So it benefits if you're sort of in the mid-pack. I was calling that race on a timing screen and had little bits of footage provided to us from Jack Pickering from Formula E Zone. So I'm very much okay with it. Don't like how long it takes, but if it stops these Peloton-style races, then I'm all for it. It sort of already is with the 4-wheel drive and the Evo car. So I don't know. It feels like it's something that maybe we don't need, but I'm interested to try it because I think the racing so far sort of fixed itself with the Evo car and the new 4-wheel drive for attack modes. It's getting a bit more interesting to watch. I think if 4-wheel drive was activated like a KERS button was in Formula One, that might, or like a DRS zone, that might make it a bit more level because right now it's way overpowered. But it is making the racing more exciting because they're not having to worry about energy. So it's a bit of an up and down. But I'm looking forward to Jeddah, actually, and didn't think it was that close. So,
it's going to be interesting to see how they cover it on the visuals on the television, because 2 people standing next to a car while it doesn't look like it's doing anything is like standing there watching your phone being charged. It's not doing anything. Why am I standing here?
Let me give you a live example.
Like
Ready?
There. Oh, it's pit boost. He's in the pit boost. He's gone again.
Waiting. Yeah, out we go.
Yeah.
94%.
That was the lollipop job done. It's going to be a bit like Formula 1 2005, where they weren't allowed to change tyres, but all the mechanics crowded around the car as if they were about to change tyres and then did nothing. Hello to McLaren, Nürburgring 2005. Yes.
Yeah, that was
shivers.
This close to hitting button as well.
In the first corner,
because I can replay that whole thing and James Allen going, "I said so, I said so." By punching Martin
so did I. And then I threw a cushion at the television and went and sulked in the garden for half an hour.
I was commentating on that race, believe it or not, and
what a shocker!
Yeah, what a shocker! But Megan was a baby at that point. And I remember shouting so hard when that went and it woke her up. She was like 3 months old. And I never forgave her for that. Because it was like, oh, great, now it's the last lap and she's woken up screaming. But yeah, we were all disappointed with that. Do you want to know a man who remembers that race because he was there as a pundit on BBC Radio 5 Live? Johnny Herbert. Right, get ready. It's time for another FIA debacle, but this time it kind of makes sense. Yeah, hold your hat. In the latest episode of FIA Departures, Johnny Herbert will no longer serve in his role as a Formula One driver steward. Last year, Herbert came under fire after making comments about Max Verstappen's aggressive driving tactics against Lando Norris in the Mexico City Grand Prix, which angered Jos Verstappen. Herbert said things such as Verstappen being over the top with his aggression and believed the 4-time F1 world champion had a horrible mindset. Late last year, I put together a timeline of the FIA's revolving door with all of the people who departed, and now Herbert is the latest figure to leave. The link to this is in the video description below. The FIA have released this statement. It is with great regret that we announced today that Johnny Herbert will no longer fulfill the position of F1 driver steward for the FIA. Johnny is widely respected and brought invaluable experience and expertise to his role. However, after discussion, it was mutually agreed that his duties as an FIA steward and that as a media pundit were incompatible. We thank him for his service and we wish him well in his future endeavours. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on Johnny Herbert's departure from his role with the FIA as the F1 driver steward?
And another one's gone, and another one's gone, another one bites the dust. Da-da. Sorry, Johnny. Saw this morning, looked at the graphic that we've just shown, read it, wasn't surprised. Again, another story that we've talked about forever in the plight of FIA versus the world. We've lost probably the most current. This is a stretch because Johnny Herbert hasn't been in a Grand Prix since what, 99? The most current driver, something like the 99 2000 ish. The most current driver to fill that role. So that's now 25 years between a driver running that and actually being in a Grand Prix. That's worrying. But I guess if the FIA can't have one without the other, with whatever media, obviously it's not part of the Sky team, it hasn't been for some time. Sky F1, that is, here in the UK and of course around the world. So with other media obligations, they, I guess, wanted him to try and be straight down the middle with everything, or be on the one side and not the other, and not veer towards the middle, perhaps. I don't know. With what's been going on with MBS over the last couple of months, that line is extremely blurred. So yeah, interesting. I think probably that we've lost a good one there in Herbert being in that role, as we've seen from some of the the decisions that have come out in races that he has been in that position, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, if we know one thing about Mohammed Ben Sulayem as well, he does try and control everything, and he was really, really desperately trying to make Johnny be good.
Oh dear, goodness me!
So he had to tell him to go, Johnny, go, go, go.
Oh.
Sorry, I was waiting ages for that one. I enjoy Johnny Herbert as an F1 driver. By the way, I would recommend Josh as the FIA president. I would take that job as the FIA president. I love democracy. I love the Republic. Yeah. David Hobbs had a similar reaction to James when that happened. Remember that well, actually. It did, didn't you? I remember that. I've seen that one, actually, yeah. But, yeah. I would not be a good FIA president. I would revolutionize that job and actually make it worthwhile. A lot of people at the Rock yesterday, more than 12 people for Xfinity testing.
Yeah, well, that's a pointed comment there from Mr. Owens. If you've been following the Corey LaJoy story over the last couple of days, very good, Matthew, very good.
Oh dear. Don't worry though. If you are wondering what is going to happen to Johnny Herbert, the last we heard of him, he's got a new house deep down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans. So it'll be okay. Now, let's hear the latest from Matt White with the Grid API update.
Before we go to EPI, I have breaking news. There's this hour of the ungodly hour of the day, we have some breaking news, and it's from Autosport. The Autosport Awards being held tonight in London, and British Formula 4 champion Deegan Fairclough has been crowned the winner of the 2024 Silverstone Autosport BRDC Young Driver of the Year award. The 18-year-old will receive £200,000 in prize money and a test with Aston Martin in their Formula 1 car, and a full membership to the BRDC club and an Arai helmet as well. So congratulations to young Deegan on winning the prize there, the F4 champion from the UK of last season. Right, let's do some EPI, where we have also breaking news, but we'll get to that in a minute, where the Rolex 24, as mentioned a little bit at the top of the show, took place at Daytona at the weekend, where Porsche again continued, as they've been doing in most things recently, to take out the big prizes. World Endurance Championship last year and the IMSA Championship, and now they have a Rolex 24 prize on their mantelpiece for Penske Porsche Motorsport 2. Felipe Nasr, Nick Tandy and Lawrence Van for the winners in car number 7. There it is on screen. On Sunday afternoon, they were the big winners in the GTP category. Nick Tandy becomes the first person, forget your Montoya trying to do or Fernando Alonso trying to do the Monaco, Indianapolis and whatever it was. Nick Tandy, winner now of Daytona 24 hours, Spa 24 hours, Le Mans 24 hours, and the Nürburgring 24 hours. The Bedford Bullet, the first person to do that. So congratulations to Nick. And that is a massive, massive achievement for him and the Porsche team. Congratulations to them there. The breaking news comes from LMP2, where about an hour or so ago before we went on air, Tower Motorsports, who were the winners, the car being driven by Sebastian Bourdais, Sebastian Alvarez, John Ferrano, and Job van Uter, the Dutchman, they won by about 45 seconds over the number 22 car of United Autosports. They have been stripped of the victory in post-race tech for a plank violation, skid block wear. So that is, if you haven't seen that over the last hour or so, breaking news, which means this car is the winner of the race, the United Autosports number 22. James Allen, Rasmus Lind, Paul di Resta, and Dan Goldberg, the winners in LMP2, and 8th position overall in the race. A big win for Ford as well in the GTD Pro category. 17th overall for Chris Meese, Fred Vavish, and Dennis Olsen in that slightly stretched photograph. They were the winners. The big win for Ford Mustang into its second year, and they kick it off with one of the big ones at Daytona. And in the GTD category, AWA were the winners for Chevrolet with the Corvette, with Ori Fadani, Matt Bell, Lars Kern, and Marvin Kirchhoffer at the wheel. As slightly mentioned in passing earlier on, this weekend it is the Bathurst 12-hour, Australia's premier endurance race. Absolutely mega. One of the best. Again, we've had a few of them over the last couple of weeks, haven't we? Rally Monte Carlo, Daytona, and now Bathurst. One of the best events of the year. Kicks off in the early morning, and I mean early. It's still dark when the race starts, local time, at the mountain. Through 12 hours, always full of drama. We'll bring you the runners and riders in terms of results on that next week. And then we will get towards the first grid EPI point standing, which will bring you on the first show in April. And we'll have a clearer idea of who's done what in this early portion of the year. And then we'll get rolling into the full season once we get into that March-April period. So that's the Grid Insurance Performance Index wrapped up for this week. Now time to hand over to Kobe. I'll rest my voice for a moment as it's starting to struggle. And he's got more of this weekend's headlines.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. 2024 ARCA Menard Series champion Andres Perez de Lara will move up to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series full-time this year. He'll drive the number 77 Chevrolet for Spire Motorsports, and Chad Walter will serve as his crew chief. Last year, he made his Truck Series debut at Gateway and got a top 10 finish. In his 2 seasons of racing in ARCA, the Mexican driver didn't win a race but scored 3 poles, 20 top 5s, and 33 top 10s. Perez de Lara said he's ready to step up his game and looks forward to the challenge of learning new tracks he didn't race at in ARCA. Graphic courtesy of Spire Motorsports. Longtime sports journalist Mike Massaro will join RFK Racing's marketing communications team. Massaro previously worked at ESPN, ABC Sports, and NBC Sports, but he was mostly known for being on the former NASCAR Now show during his tenure at ESPN. He was also featured on ESPN flagship shows Sports Center and Outside the Lines. At RFK, Massaro will be responsible for continuing to drive audience growth, provide increased partner value, and enhance the team's brand reputation. Massaro said the opportunity to align his passion for motorsports with his professional expertise in communications is truly exciting and hopes to bring innovative strategies to the team. Photo courtesy of RFK. Taylor Reimer will run part-time schedule in the ARCA Menard Series this season. She'll compete in 5 races for Venturini Motorsports at Phoenix, Elko, Kansas, and Toledo, including the ARCA West race at the Las Vegas Bull Ring. Reimer said she's excited to expand her schedule this year and gain more experience on pavement given her background in dirt racing. Last year, and her teammate Isabella Robusto made history in a dirt race at the Illinois State Fairground by becoming the first pair of female drivers to finish on the podium in an ARCA race. Photo courtesy of Venturini Motorsports. Corey LaJoie announced his plans for the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. He's going to run part-time for Rick Way Racing in the Cup Series, driving the renumbered number 014 to align with his new Stacking Pennies performance brand. His first scheduled race is the Daytona 500. He'll be in an open uncharted car with sponsorship from Duramax Oil and Take 5 oil change, so he'll have to make the race in on time or race in through the duels. LaJoie will also serve as an analyst alongside Daniel Trotta for Amazon Prime Video's coverage of the Cup Series races this summer. Trotta and LaJoie will be a part of a weekly on-site pre-race and post-race show, starting with the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte on May 25th. Graphic courtesy of Rick Ware Racing. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Matt for this week's Hots and Knots.
quickly before we get to Hots and Knots, all the pictures in the EPI segment courtesy of IMSA and the teams. And let's update you on Pick a Winner, because of course Daytona was one and the WRC Monte Carlo was on other Pick a Winner races over the weekend. And I'm at the top of the standings on my own. It won't last, but frame that and put it up on the wall quick while I'm at the top, as they say. Take a picture of the timing screen and all that jazz. No Pick a Winners to do for us on the show tonight, but there will be one, of course, for the clash at Bowman Gray on Sunday night. That'll be across social media. Use the hashtag Pick a Winner across the weekend. I guess you have to wait really for once the heats and everything roll through, perhaps, to see who's in and who's out and who's where in terms of the starting lineup. So don't go too early with your pick, would be my pick for the weekend, and get that in on the social media using the hashtag Pick a Winner for the first NASCAR point of the season. Still 200 Pick a Winner points up for grabs in 2025. So if you're not on the board, which is everyone less 5 of us, you can get on there and get yourself climbing the standings quickly, especially once we get into NASCAR and Formula One and MotoGP, and of course Supercars, who've got a bunch of races early in their season, with 3 at Sydney and then 4 at Melbourne for the Grand Prix. So that's Pick a Winner done and dusted for this week. Hots and Knots, not clearly is my voice, which is really, really beginning to disappear. And because of being ill, I didn't really get to see too much on the TV at the weekend, and it was my daughter's birthday. So I have 2 hots. One of them, Sebastian Ogier, now a 10 yes maximum point possible. He did say that indeed. Sebastian Ogier, hot, 10 times a winner of the Monte Carlo rally. That is just a sensational stat. And hot to everybody that tuned into the Grid Network Rolex 24 pre-race show on Saturday afternoon. Big numbers. Thank you, everybody. That's a good start to the year for us, for our Saturday programming. So they're my 2 hots.
We had a fantastic commentary. Like it was fantastic. The guests we had, DJ Clark was there as well as a big one for you over there in the States, and he's coming back to do some more IMSA this season as well. And of course, we've now welcomed Jake Sanson fully into the team. He's going to be doing a lot more coverage this year alongside us, and we're going to be stepping into his production as well. I'm very much looking forward to getting started on his Standby for Anderson podcast, the looking back at Jerry Anderson's works. So,
oh goodness, really? Okay,
I know it's all going like that for me, because as I said to him during the commentary as well with Lady Penelope and everything.
That's it. Yeah.
My saying for when the lights go out, as everybody knows, is action in wherever we are. So it's always action. Nobody knows where that came from, because nobody ever watches Stingray. If you go and watch Stingray at the start of the show, it literally, Commander Shaw goes, "Stand by for action," and then a big comes out from under the seat.
They use the standby for action at MK Dons just before the teams come out. Because I know that for a fact, because I was there yesterday.
All right, well, if you're an MK Dons fan, then you'll know what you know.
You'll know the standby for action, and they play the music and everything. It's excellent.
Stingray. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And Captain Scarlet, of course, as well, with the Mistrons. Still creep me out to this day. Joe 90. Do you know, if I could, I would have Joe 90's theme song as an intro to the British Touring Car Championship. I think it just fits so well. If you think about it, touring cars and Joe 90's theme, it fits really well. And I'm looking for, of course, Thunderbird. So I'm really looking forward to that. But Jake was supposed to go on for like an hour and a half. He stayed for 18 of the 24 hours.
Wow.
He was there a lot. And he worked really well. And I had an hour off, and then I thought, we'll get through. Hang on.
Did he do on a restart? Did he do his patented green?
He did, yes. On the final restart, he got the patented green, and got a restart. He also called the end to LMP2 and GTD Pro. I got GTP, and Jackson got GTD in that one. So we sort of texted and figured out what we were going to do during the final moments. DJ Clark came on. He had a segment with Jackson for an hour when I went off. So he came on with Jackson, and then he came back towards the end. So we had a 4-cam of me, DJ Clark, Jackson, and Jake Sanson in the booth, which was mad. Yeah, and Jake's now put his registration down for what series he's doing where possible, and he's going to take some practice sessions of Formula One this year as well, so I can be relieved. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And he's actually done so much because he said how positive it is. He said he wished that something was like this was around 10 years ago for motorsport fans and commentators, because it's exactly what it needs to be.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Adam says, well, hot was the coverage. Thank you very much. Bathurst 12-hour race coming up. Cookout clash at Bowman Grey on Sunday. Still don't know if we're doing Bathurst. There's still a lot of going around saying, are you doing Bathurst 12-hour? I was like, well, we're trying to work it out because we've also got coverage of the heat races for NASCAR. So it's like, we need to make sure that's doable. GAR fan ones, as part of it is weight. The car is weighed without the driver, so SG was at 50. So disadvantage or so, yeah. So that could literally just be like a weight in the back that's gone out or something or other.
Yeah, he's tall bean is Shane.
Yeah,
like me.
I'm trying to think. The ultimate hot though for this weekend is at around about. Oh, it was during the night segment, so just about early morning here in the UK. We had a very special visitor in the JV Motorsports chat. IMSA official admin turned up and loved our work.
Oh,
so,
excellent.
Yeah, that was a surprise. We never had an admin come in before for one of the series we actually cover. So, yeah, it went really well. And the only note I've got from the weekend, one, if we're in a side-by-side battle for the lead, please, for God's sake, stop cutting to the GTE field. We need to stay with LMP2 leaders battling or the pros battling. It's like, stop flipping back to things that aren't happening, or a crowd shot, or a big zoom out of the track because NBC are coming back on for a night stint. It really frustrated us in the commentary. And the second one was that crash after the restart. Totally ridiculous. We could all tell there was oil down as well from that incident before that caused the previous yellow.
Oh, the exit of turn one. Yeah, I saw a still of it.
Accident waiting to happen. And the amount of punctures we had. My God, Michelin have got to be thinking it was worse than 2005. The left rear tyres were just blowing out every 5 seconds. Every time. And it was ranging from LMP2 to GTs. It was really quite scary what was going on there. But yeah, other than that, great broadcast, great weekend.
Excellent stuff. I think my only knot that I can remember from the weekend, apart from not being able to see a lot of the stuff, as I said, was the MX5 crash on Friday coming through in race 2, coming through the green. And they all didn't make it to turn 1. Very strange, but clearly, as I said in the chat, they don't watch enough NASCAR races. You don't push in the tri-oval.
No, you
don't. We know this all the time. You don't push in the corners and you don't push in the tri-oval, but these young kids in MX5 don't care, clearly. And I think that's my only knot, apart from obviously you need to mention, talking broadcasty wise and the news that we got through this week that happened before Christmas, that Bill Webber passed away just before Christmas. And I know with Matthew watching, we're going to turn most of the USRM broadcasts into a Bill Webber tribute this year. Yeah, that was sad news to hear come through on Monday.
We're 45 minutes in and we haven't, that's it. We're wrapped. That's weird. Hot is the feeling here in Winston. Everyone is so jazzed up for the weekend. Yes. I can't wait. The only good news is that, as far as I know, looking at the Fox preview that's been out on the NASCAR website, is that there's no Danica Patrick on the coverage. So it's a thumbs up already. Where did that come from? Have you been waiting for me? It's going to
be a pop-up now. Every time I've got it ready. Every time it's mentioned, boing.
Oh, that wasn't pre-organized, by the way, viewers. I had no idea.
No, it wasn't. It's been sat in front of me tonight, pre-show. Thank you, Toby Christie, if he ever sees this. I won this on Twitter competition ages ago. This is a Texas Motor Speedway Danica Patrick bobblehead.
There's more.
I think it was guess the number of cautions. Guess the number of cautions at a race at Talladega once that Toby ran on his Twitter, and there was 2 of us that got the right answer, me being one of them. And this came all the way from the States, and it's been sat up there on top of my mantle all these weeks, and I thought we've mentioned her every week so far this season. So now every time we get a DP mention, she's going to appear on screen.
Word. I mean, there'll be plenty of it because she's doing 18 races this year. So yeah, there'll be a lot of Danica mentions as well. Dear me, I had no idea that was coming. Super Bowl next week, Super Bowl of NASCAR in 2 weeks, but this feels like our own Super Bowl this weekend in the area. We're just it's all starting up slowly now. And then we've got F1 testing coming soon. MotoGP testing is starting soon as well. It's all just like
this weekend as well.
Yeah.
MotoGP coming, so that should be exciting.
I'm trying to think, wasn't there a car launch? Isn't there an F1 launch very soon? Because I've really got to get on top of that.
I can't remember. One knot that's just come quickly to mind. I think I might mention this at the time. Would have been last summer when this news actually happened, but because now it's actually happening, the comment sections have gone. Which is that Eurosport is going away in the UK at the end of this month. They talked about it going away after the Paris Olympics last year, and it's continued. Now they've got through their Australian Open coverage, it's going to be going, and that means that if you had Eurosport but not TNT, you could watch World Superbike and British Superbike, and now you'll have to pay extra. But we all knew this was coming, so why is it a problem now?
I mean,
people annoy me.
It's literally why we decided to cover it, because we knew
and that's why they've added MotoGP on Quest for the sprint race, or one of the reasons they've put MotoGP on Quest this year for free, because they're going to it's not free, I can't watch it. Just pay. If you're a fan, pay the money.
Yeah. I mean, I did see something that Simon Patterson put out saying that it's now cheaper to buy the MotoGP video pass, the World Superbike video pass, and then go to the final 3 rounds of the BSB showdown. It's cheaper. So I can sort of see why. But
Simon also tweeting or blue skying, whatever you want to call it, that it was cheaper to fly from Dublin to London than go from Stansted into town on a bus this week, which is madness. But that's another story.
I've generally looked at it'd be possibly easier for me to fly to Knockhill. It'd be to fly into Edinburgh than it would be to get the train.
I mean, the coach. Yeah.
Then it's a problem to come into it as well. So we've wrapped up inside 50 minutes. This has been a very slow program. Is there anybody else that I need to mention apart from Danica Patrick that I haven't mentioned? We've got Mohammed Ben Sulayem out of the way. We've got Danica Patrick out of the way. We're good to go. Like a horror movie having that thing at the side.
Over next to me in the horror that she's been mentioned on the show again. There you go. You stand there.
Take a look at our upcoming schedule as well. Sunday, Grid Live pre-race, previewing the NASCAR Cup Series cookout at the Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium as well. That's going to be on Sunday. That's as well probably with our wrap-up coverage following. So please do continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach 1,500 subscribers. Now we're inching closer to our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications so you'll always know when we go on the air, and you can follow all of our social media platforms and visit our website gridnetworktv.com for a full recap of the 2024 grid ranking. The link to that is in the video description. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Michelle, Robin, David, and Matthew, who invest each month in the Grid Network. And we encourage you to join these fine folks to help us keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue growing our media outlet. Link to all of it is in the video description. And if you want to do a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want. And you can consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air. For a plastic Danica Patrick that has more sense than herself, for Kobe Lambeth and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch from Jamie Motorsports. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.